He does a very good with
Nice.
legs.
His legs are awesome.
Okay. We're live, guys.
Good
Hey.
luck.
Thank you very much for your patience and understanding, obviously. So thank you everybody for coming out, and thank you for tuning into the podcast. We really, really appreciate it. First off, we're going to take a moment because, Chad, you've been on the podcast, but you just had a little bit when we were at the last festival.
Yes.
For the expo in January. Anna's been on, but AJ, you haven't yet.
Not yet.
So you need to give everybody out there a little bit about you.
My name is Amber Lynn Rasmussen. I go by AJ. I am an owner and manager of Vibes My Body Spirit here in Ogden, and I also am a podcast host of Soul Watering.
Yes. How's that been going?
I love it.
Yeah.
It's so much fun.
It is fun, isn't it?
Right?
Yeah.
You're gonna meet lots of people, hear their stories. It's great.
What's your favorite part about podcasting?
I really like the freedom of just being me and allowing other people to be them. So that's good.
Yeah, I like the fact that, and I don't know if you found this yet, but you have an excuse to talk to anybody and everybody that you want to.
Yes.
And so I can just reach out to whoever it is that
Yeah.
sparks my interest and, get in contact and have on the podcast. And it's been super fun.
It's really neat hearing other people's stories. You get to meet them, but you don't really get to hear about their background until you actually have them on the show and hear what they're all about.
Yeah, you get
It's
much
really
more
great.
in depth and in there, and you get to learn way more about everybody.
Yes, I love it. It's so much fun.
Anna, thank you very much for hosting and putting and collaborating and combining and building this amazing, amazing event.
You're very welcome. It's my honor to do so, and thank you for being here. Thanks for this great idea.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Chad, thank you.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
I know you've been busy lately with everything that's going on.
Very busy, yes.
So people that haven't had a chance, maybe they didn't listen to the episode where you came on and we got to chat a little bit. Tell them exactly what it is that you do.
Well, my name is Chad Davis. I'm a vibrational sound therapist. I play with what's called the Sound Bath Experience. And my beloved Dana Wiley is here. She plays the crystal bowls. I play the Tibetan bowls. And we have Tarek on the drums. And we've been conducting mass meditations for a long time now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yay.
What is... My nose is going to run probably this whole time. Is it?
Could you go to shoot? Yeah.
When you're in the process of doing a sound bath, like when you're in it and you're playing all that kind of stuff,
Mhm.
how connected do you think that you are? Do you know what I mean? Like,
How plugged into the mains?
yes, yeah.
Extremely plugged in. Yeah, I'm definitely in the zone. We just get into a space of I call it coming home. Okay, because really this is just a ride, right? And the sound bath helps flush out all of the daily problems and whatnot, and we just get back to the one.
Yeah. Do you find that it's incredibly, because my guess is, especially if you're performing a lot and you're doing a lot of sound baths and a lot of work, you're getting a lot of work done at the same time, obviously.
Absolutely.
What's one of the biggest things that sticks out in your mind as far as, like the benefits that you get from it? Does that make sense?
Yeah, but words, no human word. I'll invent the word. I'll get back to you, but words can't really express how I feel. Just very high vibration.
Yeah. So synchronicity is a big thing, right?
Absolutely.
It plays a big role in my life. It plays a big role in like every aspect of what we do.
Yes.
And so I want to talk about it briefly, and we can each share a story of a time or an experience that really describes in the nature of that experience what synchronicity is kind of at the core, outside of just, the commonly held things of, you're checking the clock every so often and you're seeing the same numbers, or you're going through some of those experiences on a regular basis. Those are neat and those are really, really good, I think. But what are some of the deeper ones if you guys want to share one? Whoever's got one off the top of their head first, because it's out of nowhere.
Well, I would just say, synchronistic that we're on stage doing the podcast. Because we actually lined up a bell tent that we were going to be doing workshops, and it was a quieter space to do this podcast. And there was a musician lined up to be on here at noon on stage right now. musician, didn't get the bell tent, didn't get the musician, and here we are on stage doing the live podcast. So that is synchronistic, just the divine, and I call it divine alignment. Just as one thing happens and the other thing happens, and then it all just works out. And that doesn't happen. That happens to me a lot, and I think that comes with alignment. When you're in alignment, your vibration, whatever you're doing, the art of allowing, and that definitely reflects to me synchronicity. And today was a perfect example.
AJ, yeah, it is a good example. And don't you love how it always happens that way too?
Absolutely.
Like you
Yes.
just let go in the process and be in that space, and then undoubtedly, cool shit's gonna happen.
I thought, be like water. Just be like water. It's so awesome.
AJ, yeah, what did you think of?
I feel when you are just in the place of allowing and going with the flow, everything always ends up lining up perfectly. And that's how I look at synchronicity. But it happens everywhere for me. I think for you guys too. When you're living your purpose and doing what you love, everything just seems to add up. And it just fits perfectly. It works exactly as it should or needs to.
Needs to.
Yes.
It takes practice, I think, recognizing it though. Because
Absolutely.
A lot of times it feels like things aren't adding up and that you're spinning out of control and things aren't going the way that you want them to and everything like that.
It always works out though. I think.
Jack, you have one?
I feel that I do. It's the instruments that we play. Lately, our latest collection over the last year, they come from maybe someone's post on KSL or some chimes at the DI or like a kitchen singing bowl or a crystal bowl that just happened to manifest in some way. And as we're playing them together, we realize, wow, this works with that and that works with this, and how can that happen? This came from over there and that came from here. Synchronicity is beautiful. To me, I used to think synchronicity was like a glitch in the matrix, but actually it's affirmation from spirit to let you know you're exactly where you need to be. I'm driving down the highway, they're talking about lemons, and there's a lemon billboard, stuff like that. It's an affirmation that we're exactly where we need to be, in my opinion.
And outside of, all three of you, outside of just recognizing those moments and kind of, having that warm feeling inside or whatever, do you guys have anything else that you do to kind of, I guess, be in gratitude or recognizing you more and give it more weight so that it's not that you have to give it weight, but just more recognition of that event or of those series of events that happen?
Live in gratitude.
Just live in gratitude.
Absolutely. Be thankful for everything, even if it isn't working out how you want it to. It's working out for a reason. There's always a purpose behind what's going on, behind the scenes that you don't actually see.
And I think just in recognition of the fact that it's there, it brings it. It's like when you're driving, you buy a new red car, right? And then you go down the freeway and there's 20 of the same kind of red cars that you've never seen before. So that's just kind of like how things manifest and bring like a tangible way for us to see stuff. The more that we believe in it, we see it, we recognize it, give gratitude for it, the more it continues to show up again and again and again. And then, and then it just becomes habit. It's like a muscle. I mean, you have to practice it, recognize it, acknowledge it, and I think that it continues to grow that way.
Well said.
Okay, so I have a big topic in the sense that I want to get into, because I like the idea behind the podcast. It was really an opportunity to spread awareness in regards to all sorts of different things, highlight people, all that kind of stuff, right? But I like to challenge people when they come on the podcast in a sense, and push them outside of their comfort zone in an effort to hopefully challenge the listener out there. And so one of the things that I want to talk about and address is, and it's not just in the realm of spirituality and the New Age community, it's everywhere, in every walk of life, in every aspect of life. I think a lot of times we get stuck in routines and patterns and the ways of doing things, and it's really difficult to break outside of those. And what I want to talk about specifically is I think a lot of times, and I know when I say I think a lot of times, it's because I've done it and I not suffer from it like it's an illness, but I deal with it. It's a challenge for me, where I want to stay in that space of love and light. I want to stay in the space where I feel like everything's wonderful and amazing, and I get done meditating and it's absolutely beautiful, and I can kind of tune out in regards to real life and what's happening and what's going on, and just choose to kind of dance in the light and all the good stuff that exists out there. And so I always am trying to constantly find the balance, because I think it's amazing to stay in that space and to have that space and to bring that space to everyday life. But then I also find myself challenged to kind of walk that line between those two spaces where you've got everyday life, and it's not that everyday life isn't beautiful, but it holds its challenges and its struggles. So how do I stay in that space where I can find balance and not just dance and play in rainbows and fairies and unicorns and all that wonderful stuff that we love? Go ahead, AJ. You're sitting next to me, so you're going to get punished.
It's not really a punishment. It's actually a very good question. I'm trying to figure out how to word it though. Talk about putting me on the spot. There is something to be said about living in the light where everything is warm and fluffy. It's a good feeling. But there is the reality of life, like you said. And ultimately, when you're having those real life experiences, you can look at them as an opportunity for growth and allow the experience, allow the opportunity to have that experience and have the growth. And when you look at it in a different light or choose on how you're going to react to it or work with it, I think your outcome becomes a lot different. And it's not warm and fluffy and rainbows and unicorns. It still hurts. That's part of the growth. That's part of what our experiences are, or to challenge us and to allow us to have that. And everything isn't rainbows and unicorns, unfortunately. But it always, for me, comes down to a choice on how I'm going to accept the experience or not. And there's nothing wrong with having those moments where you break down and you totally just, I have adult temper tantrums. I'm not even gonna lie. I'll stomp up and down and say this sucks and I hate it, but
I drop the F-bomb a lot.
yeah. And
It's one of my favorite four-letter words. Sex Friday.
exactly. And if you just allow it and just give into it sometimes, it actually becomes the fluffy stuff, the warm and good stuff, and you're thankful for it.
I like that. I mean, I think a lot of times I have to remind myself, rather than trying to distance myself from the crap that exists in life, I try to lean into it.
Yes.
And like you said, be like water, go with it, and just allow for it to happen and for the process to happen.
Yeah. It's easier when you don't fight against it. The process is a lot shorter.
Yeah. What do you guys think? Like, what would be a piece of it? Like, somebody out there that's struggling, somebody that has a hard time.
Okay, I could just share my truth. And to those that have heard it before, I'm sorry, but it is my truth. Once you come to recognize that you are an eternal, God-force being, having a very brief human experience, I'm remembering the meeting before the ride, I call it. And in that meeting, they said, you're so lucky and you're so special and you'll be challenged. And for some of you, it'll seem like a very short ride, like stillborns, children. For some of you, it'll seem like a really long ride. But either way, you'll be back in 3 minutes. And once I harness that and I recognize that, it's not that I'm living with unicorns and everything's all joy and whatever. Without adversity, we would not have anything, I say, to put in our spiritual toolbox that we take with us when we go back home. I talk to people about the rock polisher. I don't know if you have one, I have one. We put the rock in the rock polisher. You, all of us here, the rock. And we put in harder, coarser minerals that rub up against the rock. Harder, coarser minerals. And in the end, that rock comes out a beautiful gem. Strong and beautiful gem. So without adversity, this would, this life would suck. So I welcome adversity, and it's how you react to it. Again, remembering who you are and how short we have to be here. We can handle anything.
What are some of the things that you put into your spiritual toolbox and that you gather and collect that you can kind of use over the course of your life when life does get you, stuck sometime deep down?
All I can say is different experiences, different challenges. The more you go through, the more you can handle. But the experiences we have in this life, we take with us eternally. And I believe that we are, there are great surprises in store. We're in a college. This is the graduating, it's a graduating class for me. But I think I'm done. I'm not coming back. But no, everything even the supposed we think is bad experience turns out to be experience. And thank goodness we have these experiences.
Hannah, what do you think? What do you want to add?
Along with what Chad says, it made me think of the other side, and you think, why do we choose the spirits to come to this plane or this planet? Well, we come here for growth, and that was one message that I got from the other side, was this is just a school. And I think that, just like AJ said as well, you get to a point when it hurts long and hard enough, you learn how to choose to look at things in a different way. And it doesn't take away from our human experience, because I am one to tell you that I am completely human in this experience. Like I said, I dropped the F-bomb a lot. I lose my temper. I'm full of my own adversities. But at the same time, I love to give, and I wouldn't be where I'm at if it were not for the adversities in my life. If you heard my story, you'd be like, what? I didn't know that about you. So how would you know? You've never heard my story. Not the whole story. Hear parts of my story, and the ones that I want to share. But definitely, being a part of that, there's growth in every day. Growth in every day. Today, we're running late, and I'm yelling at my kids. Come on, we gotta go. We're really, really late. And then we get here, and I'm like, it's all gravy. It's all cool. Everything's fine. I mean, I go through, anxiety attacks, panic attacks, and all that fun stuff too. And then learning to deal with it is just part of those spiritual tools that bring us there, and those things that work. Being grateful, reminding that why we're here, why we do things. Why are things bigger than ourselves? The list goes on, really. And it's not. Life isn't all sunshine and moonbeams. We'd like to bring that today. But I think the more that we recognize those experiences in our lives, the more we get to enjoy those things in our lives as well. It's not saying that bad times aren't going to be there, that grief is not going to be there, that we're not going to deal with life, the part that makes us grow. And those are the things that I think help each other grow. Once we go through those experiences, because it becomes you doing your podcast, you having your wellness center, you doing your healings all across Utah, and healing so many people at a time, and me creating this. This all came from adversity. If I hadn't gone through what I had gone through, when I wasn't sick and tired of the pain, I wouldn't have created what I created.
Beautiful. One of the things I think, when somebody has, this is the other thing that I find really fascinating. So depending upon at what point in their life, it doesn't matter, right? I think typically it tends to be a little bit later in life sometimes, where people actually have to experience and go through some hard knocks and some things in life that are difficult. But at some point they get to that place where they kind of have a spiritual awakening, we'll just call it that for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
And in that space, when they have that awakening and they start exploring and they start learning and experiencing all the different things that are out there that exist, I think a lot of times they get, it's like a wave, right? It's like a high. They get really, really high in that space and everything feels amazing and wonderful, and then they almost crash. And they go back down to the bottom, sometimes even lower than they normally would, because everything has that ebb and flow. And so how do we help people? Because at the end of the day, we all just want to help people, right? I want to help people through the podcast. I know AJ does it, the podcast, and healing, and we all just want to help people live fuller lives and be happier, right? But at the end of the day, we have to give them, in the process of helping them, some, I like to think of it as guidance and insight. And, I may have walked slightly further than you on the path, so I can point out things that you don't have to trip over, you don't have to have those experiences. So somebody that's gone through an awakening in a sense, and then had that crashing down moment or that experience or the past several months or whatever it may be, how do you help them in that space? Help them realize that it's momentary, help them realize that everything that they've been learning and experiencing, the beauty and energy that exists out there, is still present even in those low moments.
I think in one of those spaces, and it happens, is that, what is holding space for someone where we as healers, we want to jump in and help and fix and do. But at the same time, I like that part about me that recognizes now I don't have to. I can just get, it sucks and it's gonna get worse. Or it's like this, and just be there. I notice sometimes just holding someone and just hugging someone and not having the answers happens because you've been there, and maybe words were good, but sometimes you just need some. You don't want words. You don't want a fix. You don't want whatever. You just have to feel and go through it. And it's nice to know that sometimes somebody's just there. And sometimes that's all we need to be, is just present, I think.
I agree with that completely. And also, sometimes we just need validation that what we're feeling is okay to feel.
Yeah,
And there's no
absolutely.
right or wrong way to feel any way through any experience. Just allow them to feel what they need to feel to get through it and validate them.
The same thing for ourselves, It's okay to be pissed. It's okay to be sad, mad,
Absolutely.
all of the things. And we, recognize, and I've recognized that high flying train. I mean, it lasts for a very long time sometimes, and sometimes it don't. Sometimes you just get to be human and just be. Human being. Presence, human being presence.
I would like to add something. I'm not disagreeing, and it is okay to feel all of these emotions, but to get stuck in an emotion, you are going to manifest more of that emotion. So it's nice to, thanks for pissing me off, and I'm kind of angry now, but I'm going to get over it, because we are all, every minute of every day, at the bar of the law of attraction. And the waiter is always listening. And to those that go up, today's going to suck. Oh, they say it's going to rain. Oh, the test is really going to be hard. Well, all right. Yeah, we had all this great stuff, but he says it's going to suck, so whatever. The definition of the word abracadabra is, I create as I speak. This is ancient text that I believe is incredibly important. So, as God force eternal beings, we create our life as we speak it, and as we think it, and as we feel it. It's not just good to, put on a happy face, be happy, come on. I mean, it's nice, but you really must. It's nice to remember who you are, how brief of a time we have here, and just lighten up and be happy. Yeah, today sucked. Not today's day. Today's wonderful. But that one time, that sucked. But you know what? We're here very briefly. We're here to gain knowledge and experience for unearthly things that are yet to be unfolded.
At what point, Jack?
Yes.
At what point in your life do you think, because when it comes to manifestation, the law of attraction, and those whole dynamics that play in regards to what you put out and all those kind of things, do you feel like there was ever a point in your life where you realized that it wasn't just a matter of manifesting and creating happiness and joy and positive things in your life, but also the flip where, like you said, you kind of create whatever you're putting out regardless of whether it's positive or negative energy?
Absolutely.
Did you have a moment where that happened?
Sure.
Kind of, because I think a lot of times when, I know for me, I got lost in the space of realizing that I could just manifest positive things, and that, I could direct my attention and focus that way.
What you think is positive, I mean, what do you know? Creator, Spirit has so many surprises for us, and in ways that we don't even. So what we think is good, no, it's not really that good for you. In fact, just wait. That's another thing, is the time thing. Someone will come up, I don't know about this law of attraction, man. It's just not happening. I'm like, God's not done yet. We're still creating. Who says that you know what time or what is good for you? But I experienced a loss of a woman that came into my life 10 years ago, and it totally changed me. Totally, I had a hand in it, but and then I was alone, and I was heartbroken. And then I was alone, and I was alone. I was alone a long time. And I was hating life, at first. But see, what I thought was a bad thing turned out to be the greatest gift. Leaving me was the greatest gift, because I had no idea who I was. So I needed that time to find me. It's kind of weird being, 50 I don't know, 48 then, or 47, I don't know. And not knowing who you are. My whole life, I had no idea who I was. So anyway, it's good to know who I am. It's good to know that if I think I'm going to manifest good, I'm going to manifest good. Will it appear as good? I don't know. Maybe down the road. I told somebody one day when I was, I didn't have work coming, I said, the money's on the way. The murals are on the way. I'll make so much money, it'll be falling out of my pocket. And I got the mural, and I was doing my thing. Next thing I know, I've lost a lot of money. It was, a lot of money. It fell out of my pocket, by the way. So yeah, we can manifest by our words. If we really knew how truly important every word, every thought is, I believe that we are not only created in God's image, like, I have 2 eyes and he must have a nose, and he looks like, no. We're talking DNA. We have the ability to create, to co-create. I'll get off my pedestal.
No, you bring up a good point. That whole idea that a lot of times in that space of law of attraction and manifestation, almost always I have found it never really looks like what you initially thought it was going to look like, right? You have an idea, you have a thought, you have something that you want to strive for and reach for, but then you hold on to that so tightly that you miss all the other stuff that goes by that really was bits and parts and pieces of it. And how has, like in the beginning when you start the whole infinite possibilities and doing these festivals and expos, is it anything which, there's going to be a part of it that's kind of your vision in a sense, but how much of it have you had to let go of in order for it to grow and expand and become more of what it really is?
The whole dang thing. Honestly, the infinite possibilities started out as the sacred self. And the sacred self was going to be self-enrichment and enlightenment center. A building, a center, just like AJ has. And I just went about it like it was here. I didn't have a building, I didn't have money, I didn't have chairs or tables, nothing. And I decided to create it. It was the vision or what was given to me. It said, "What about your center?" And I said, "Oh, my center now I have path and purpose. Let me go build this center." So I started marketing it at shows. I was gathering, I was networking, and I was gathering healers and readers and people that were going to come teach at my center. And I was doing a show. I was actually marketing it at Earth Jam, 2013. And I couldn't afford the booth space. It was $200. So I split it between 4 people. We had 4 different vendors in one booth. And but I had set it up the night before the Earth Jam opened. And we had a massage therapist, and I had a lady that made gemstone metaphysical jewelry. I had another lady that did holistic makeup. And then I had my paintings and marketing the sacred self. And when I set it all up, and we had all of our space inside this little tiny tent, and I stepped back, I went, holy crap, I built my center, but it's mobile. And the vision came to me was like, this is where I'm going with this. It's not a building. And so originally, it was supposed to be a building, so stagnant somewhere, and it's not. It's mobile. We do the expo, we do the festival. I help with other events and festivals, and sometimes I question myself. Last weekend I was in the desert, in the sand, the dust, and the heat. And this morning and here today I'm shivering with tea at infinite possibilities. And I wonder, why do I do this to myself sometimes? From one extreme to the other. But then I look at you guys, the people that were up here this morning drumming with me, the people that I can't walk the stairs and not hugging because of what's created here. And it's the relationships. It's this community that we get to build and get to love and get to operate in. And that's I think maybe that was the underlying of it, but it wasn't what my vision was in the beginning.
Yeah.
So having to let go of what that was and being, either fluid like water or at least it's part of allowing, just saying, hold on, you're never saying, hold on, there's something better. Wait, we got bigger ideas for you. And you go, what? What are you saying? I don't even know how to run stage. Steve was with me the first time. Somebody gave us, our friend of ours, dropped off the sound system. He said, okay, I gotta go. Here's your sound system. I'm like, hey, cool, what do I do with it? And the good thing Steve was there. He's like, Anna, do you need some help? And I said, Oh, thank God, yes. He's been with me ever since, but I didn't know that I was going to keep doing what I'm doing and that would grow to what it is. And I'm just been grateful for all of you guys.
Don't you think it's continually difficult to, because right in the moment of it, right, hindsight is always easier and better, right? Even immediately after a moment, a lot of times if you have, when I say consciousness, if you're kind of awoke in a sense, you have the ability to recognize the way that the fluid universe moves and everything like that. Even like right in the heart of things happening, sometimes it's still difficult to let go and allow for that flow to happen. Where you may be, you're reaching that point where you feel like what you have been working towards and all the energy and time that you've put into it is coming into fruition and it's working, but yet you have to let it go because something else is right there. I mean, I think sometimes even in those really intense moments, it's hard to remind ourselves the importance of being able to allow for it to go and to just let go.
Did you guys catch me yesterday when I had my panic attack at the gate on 3 p.m.? I seriously went into a physical panic attack, one of the worst ones I've had in a while. So, it was an incident, wasn't an incident. Life happened. I tripped it. Experience happened, and it happened really strong. And I forgot everything. I forgot all the tools. I forgot whatever. I was in physical beingness. And a good friend showed up who I hadn't seen in months. Okay, he gave me that hug and walked outside and said, remind yourself, remind what's going on, that what you're doing is greater than what they're concerned about. And as soon as I did that, I went, duh. She's like, how do you feel now? Are you at a 10 still? I'm like, I'm at an 8 and I'm coming down. It's getting better. And I lost it. And that was it. I mean, I lose it all the time. It happens. But, I mean, that was another growth, was rewinding that this whole thing, I've always said I'm just the captain of the ship. I just kind of tell them where do you want me to go and I just cruise because it's greater than me. It always has been. And I was seriously, I didn't know what to do yesterday. And as soon as I let go, it worked out. Everything worked out. Back down level 1 and started grooving and able to dance. So yay.
So anybody that's out there that's watching, if you've got questions for any of us, obviously you can throw them in the comments and we'll get to them as soon as we can. But I think in this space, and we keep talking about, because we're sitting here at this festival and it's amazing, beautiful energy and all this kind of stuff. So this is the stuff that we're talking about. But I think all of this stuff applies to any aspect of life, right? It doesn't matter if you don't have to be into energy work. You don't have to be into healing or crystals or any of this kind of stuff for some of these same ideas and concepts to really apply to your life. But I think it's important. I know for me personally, I started doing these festivals and expos and coming and setting up a booth and helping people and trying to do readings and all these type of things, and I loved it. And that's where I thought everything was going to be going. And then slowly life changes and evolves, and all it does what it does, like what we're talking about. But I think it's really important for people to realize that when you start something, I think it's just that. All you have to do is start. You just have to move into that space regardless of what it is. So AJ, I want to ask you, because you guys have been, Soul Wanderings, you guys have been doing it for how long now? Since November, so is that like 6 months, 4, 5, 6 months? How has it changed from when you started, right? Because you start the intention and you're going to start doing it and everything like that. How have you seen, even in that short time span, what you wanted to devote time and energy into mold and shift and change?
Well, initially it wasn't my idea to start a podcast. I already was putting myself out there and I was like, wow, that's a much larger scale than I want to go. But it's like with allowing the growth that we were talking about and the audience that I wanted to reach. So it's changed in a lot of ways because at first it was something that I was kind of pushed into doing. And once I allowed it, which happened really quick, a lot faster than I thought it would, it actually, well, Rachel's not on the show anymore, and I'm putting a lot more effort and a lot more passion into it. It's not just something, okay, we'll do it. It's something much more meaningful and has much more purpose behind it than it did initially. So it's definitely grown as far as that goes.
like if we had come to you last festival when it happened last May and said, in 6 months you're going to be hosting a podcast, you're going to be doing
I
this,
would have laughed.
right? Completely outside the
Sure.
scope where you thought you'd be or what you'd be doing.
I didn't even think I would have a place like Vibes. Vibes has been an amazing gift, but it's just like what we were talking about. When you start your journey, you have no idea what direction it's going to go. It's all those things that are happening behind the scenes that are leading you to where you get to be. And it's just like that with the podcast. We have a lot of things that are going to be happening that are bigger than just the audio part. And it's scary. It's really scary putting yourself out there. But it's the allowing that we've been talking about, because there's always a bigger purpose than what you thought from the beginning. It always turns into something much bigger than you.
And then that hindsight, and you get to sit back and bask in the gratitude of what's happening, right?
I'm overwhelmed with the gratitude. It really, just like Emma was talking about how this is her little baby, look how big it is now. It's very overwhelming, the amount of people that you get to help and be a part of their lives and a part of their journey. It's incredibly amazing. I'm overwhelmed with gratitude.
It's amazing.
She's in tears.
It's really
And
awesome. It really is.
Yeah.
That feeling is the best feeling. It happened to me on Thursday night because it's a chug, it's work. And then all of a sudden, we got the fire permit. And the boys, I had given up on the fire. And last night, I don't know who I was talking to, and I said, oh, it was Shamada. I said, do you realize that the fire is the only reason that I've done festival? So that I could burn fire downtown? Seriously, I would have kept an expo in the indoors. We could be, back somewhere else inside. But I wanted to bring fire to the public. I wanted people to experience some of the beautiful experiences that I get to see that they don't get to see. And I don't know why that was the tipping point and brought me to tears, but I was crying for half an hour in joy that we got to have fire here last night.
It comes out of nowhere.
That's just, it was it. That was like, I had given up on it, okay, festival, blah, blah, blah. And then it was like, we're going to have fire. Like, no, the world is good again. The world was, and I was full of that gratitude that you used, that same emotion. That the fire isn't the reason, the only reason. There's so many other ones, but it was the key component to what really inspired me to do a festival outdoors, do the expo outdoors. Was on the entertainment side that I wanted to bring that experience to people, in addition to all of the other stuff. So, finally, like, just that little piece of having that, like you said, you don't know what's going to trip it. The final moment is that reminds you that gratitude of where we came from, where we've been, and where we're at. So I was grateful that it finally showed up, because when I first started doing it, I used to be here all the time, like all those big moments of gratitude, those happy tears. And then it started becoming like work. And then finally like, oh, it's all for a reason. There's those moments of happy tears and saying thank you last night to everyone that was out here and filling my heart. I would say, you think my hands are full, you see my heart. It does happen.
So you just mentioned that it becomes work at some point.
Yeah.
And I think it's important a lot of times, because there's that idea that if you're passionate about what you're doing, then it's not work, right? It shouldn't be work. You
Right.
shouldn't be. And if it is work, then you're probably doing something wrong, or maybe you're not really, there's something else out there for you. Because nobody likes to go to work. Nobody likes that feeling where you have to work. But I think that a lot of times, I know I get stuck sometimes because I'm passionate about what I'm doing, but then there's times where it does feel like work, where it feels like I have to force myself into that space and sit through and do whatever it is that I'm doing, right? I still love it and I'm still passionate about it, but there's an aspect of it that's difficult and hard and does feel like work. And I think when that happens, it's the universe reminding me and forcing me into that space of balance, where maybe it's just bringing in a little bit of real life in a sense, and the reminder of sometimes you do have to move through some difficult things or work in a sense, because you're expending more time and energy, and then you have the added benefit of looking like, okay, I pushed through that aspect. I forced myself through that, and I did do some work. And I mean, we keep talking about work. It's not that we're all lazy and we don't do anything, but you know what I mean.
It takes a lot of effort.
Yeah. And sometimes, don't get disheartened if you're passionate about something or you're creating something. Maybe you're an artist or you're making jewelry or you're selling or whatever it is that people do. Sometimes it does feel like work, and you just have to ride that out as well, because at the end of the day, I think you're still doing what you're supposed to be doing. You just have to commit a little bit more time and energy to it. I've got a big question for you. I'm going to elaborate on it a lot, and I want each of us to kind of comment on it in a sense if we can. So, I think we're always perpetually evolving and moving forward. I think life is always continually changing and moving and fluid all the time. And us in life and us in the universe is underneath that same umbrella. We're continually evolving and moving perpetually forward, and things are adapting and changing. Just like anything else in life, sometimes we get stuck and we want to resist that, but we can't because it still happens and rolls out, right? So the question is, in the space of like the New Age community or spirituality as a whole, there's common practices and beliefs and things that happen and take place that are kind of held as tenets, I guess we could say, right? We're not saying they're commandments or anything like that. It's so much different than religion in a sense because it's more encompassing and everything like that. But there's typically some commonly held beliefs or ideas or ways of thinking or understanding the way that the universe works and spins. I think, from my own experience, I think that whole, we'll just say the New Age community or the New Age movement is evolving and changing and adapting, just like everything else in the world and the universe. But I think people that are in that space are resistant to it at times. So the question is, and then we can all sit and ponder for a minute and have 5 minutes of silence and figure out the answer. What are those areas where perhaps energy has shifted and evolved so much or has changed subtly, but people are still resistant and holding on to old ways of doing things or old ways of believing, where there's new stuff that's now here and present and is happening, but we're still stuck in this old space. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So Chad, you guys know.
I already 5 minutes.
He said, he was already all up in there.
It's ego. One needs to realize that just because you've been brought up believing something or taught something, you really don't know anything. The idea is to just harness the fact that we really don't know a lot. And what we've been taught, whatever the subject, there are people that go through this life and they feel like they know everything. They have the answers. And it's too bad. They don't really have a great life. It's better I tell people, have a wonderful day. Really, have a wonderful day. And most of them are like, oh, thanks, wonderful day, whatever. Do you know what it means to have a wonderful day? You go through your day full of wonder. Let go of all of your previous, your beliefs and whatnot. And maybe I could learn something from this guy over here. Maybe this guy could tell me something. It would shatter my whole paradigm, no matter what subject. But I'm going to have a wonderful day. I'm going to be open, because really, we don't know nothing. We know, we're just beginning to know. But I would just say it would be ego. So drop the ego and, look somewhere else. Look for truth somewhere out here. Also in here, but people get so stuck with what they believe to be true. And yeah, so that's my answer. Thank you.
What role do you think, it's a good answer.
Thank you.
What role do you think ego plays though? Because everything has a place and a purpose
There
and a
is
reason.
good ego and bad ego, okay? And I can't really define those two. I'm just talking about I know what's best. My religion is best. I was told that this is the only pathway to God. Or this is the best way to build this thing, to make this thing work. I'm an artist as well, and I've been in the film business for a while, and I've been in a position like Touched by an Angel. I got to hire a crew to come paint for me, right? I was head singer. And I would tell my crew, okay, this is the goal. you show me what your contribution is, or what can you do, or whatever, rather than a boss that says, hey, do it my way or the highway. Because the benefits that I got was I learned so many new techniques from these younger painters, that stuff that I wouldn't even think of. Look, I'm not saying I'm all that, but I do recognize that I don't know nothing. And I am open. If anyone has their truth, they want to share it with me, awesome. I'll give it some weight.
Andy, can you think of an area?
I think that it just makes sense. Why wouldn't the New Age movement, community, spirituality, why wouldn't it evolve like everything else? I think there becomes a balance between old ways, old traditions, old studies, mastering certain techniques or whatnot. And when I thought of that, I thought, when I'm thinking of a little boy, I think of the kids, the children that are growing up and teaching us now, stuff that we've learned, we've practiced, and we've mastered or unmastered, and then they're teaching us all this stuff that's like, took us forever to learn, they already have it. It's like the kids that learn, when my daughter was little, she knew how to run the DVD player. And I didn't know how to run the DVD player, and she's 2, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So it's kind of involvement, I think, is where we're kind of on that cusp of in between at the same time, if that makes sense. So it's like you can be new agey and spiritually, and you can be fun and hippie and on the same side, or you can be professional. And there's just all of this camaraderie and bout and mix up and mash up and it's going on now. I mean, because the younger generation, the older generations, all of it. And it just takes being open. It does take being open heart, open-minded to accept that and not be so rigid or stuck in those old beliefs, so that they were judging. They were back into judgment. And what is that? And that brings us back to where we started. And that, to me, that feels like regression instead of going forward. So it's I think there's that. Comes back to where we came from, which is unconditional love. And I think that when we're open to receiving and to believing and to learning and to knowing all of that, and we get to check ourselves all the time. Are we gonna love this person unconditionally, but she does something that I didn't think spiritual people did that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Stuff. Yeah. So I think that our kids are really, really good at reminding us and teaching us of that and where we came from too. So I think that it's natural for it to evolve, and it might be uncomfortable. People don't like change. We find a good place, and this is a good happy place. The spiritual movement, the New Age movement, whatever you call it, it is a good happy place. But everything is growth. Everything grows. And
Definitely.
Yeah.
AJ, can you think of anything else?
They both said it wonderfully, actually. I agree with both of them on everything that they said. The only thing that I would want to add is that we should never limit ourselves as far as our spirituality goes. No one should dictate what it is. No one should tell us what it should and shouldn't be. And we should always be wanting to be more, wanting to learn more, wanting to grow more. People look at us as examples because our basis is love. It's unconditional love. And when you're in that space of unconditional love, there is no judgment. There are no rules. It's anything and everything you want it to be. And when we, like in our community, when we start doing things that stop us, like having the judgment or causing the drama or having the issues, that's not our foundation.
Yeah.
And that's where the ego comes in, and then we limit ourselves, and there's just no room for growth that way.
I agree. And that was the one thing I was going to add. We're freezing, so we're going to wrap up. But regardless of whatever it is in life, I think it's important to not question it in the sense like you're standing against authority or anything like that, but question it in regards to how it relates to you, whether it's a new technique or a new topic or a new idea. Don't just take somebody's word for it. It can even be as small as we all like crystals, we all like stones, we all like that type of stuff. And if there's a stone that you feel you use for this aspect of your life or enhances this chakra, but it's typically, or somebody gave it to you and told you it's for that chakra, that doesn't mean you're wrong. And it's okay that it works differently for you. And so always question and always look for really your own truth and your own answers. And we all are we are all freezing. So real quick, AJ, where can people find the podcast Soul Wanderings?
If you go to Online Vibes, that's onlinevibeasy.com. There's a tab on there that is called Soul Wanderings, and there's an episode list there.
Perfect.
And Online Vibes, our store.
We're going to get you guys on iTunes too.
We're working on it.
Wonderful.
And Stitcher and all that good stuff. They're just behind.
And then, Aaron, when people want to keep up to date with all the stuff that's going on?
We actually have a website now, thanks to Kelly Richard, who's in the house. Its website is www.infinitepossibilities, but it's spelled funny. INF and the number 8 possibilities.com. So actually, from the event on Facebook, you just find Infinite Possibilities or Hannah Sierra, and we'll get you to the website if you can't spell it.
Jack?
Hi. If you want to check out the Sound Bath Experience, just go to Facebook, the Sound Bath Experience. We'll be playing the last 3 weekend in most every month at Dancing Cranes and other places. And if you would like me to bang a bunch of bowls on your body, come over to my tent, just over there at the end of the line. So.
Wonderful.
And he's playing tomorrow too. Tomorrow.
Oh yes, tomorrow we have a Sound Bath Experience at 4 p.m. right where I'm sitting.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, everybody. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Forward surviving. And thank you, everybody, for sitting in the audience here and watching. And thank you, everybody at home or wherever the heck you may be with your phone tuning and watching the live podcast. So we'll wrap it up so we can go get warm and want some coffee.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.